To I think we're live.
Live and direct from America.
Wherever.
America.
I don't in the heartland, that's where we are. And I see Mr. Springer is in the chat, but you know what? Before we get into any of that, I think we need to say something. We are at Talk on Tuesdays. We're back. Oh my gosh. We are back, Mr. Wamble. Wow. And that was what we had. We got somebody that couldn't wait. Hi, how you doing, Precious? Welcome, baby. Welcome. Oh my
Killer
god.
pitch. What does that mean?
That means she can pitch and do very, very well doing so. In other words, we have to have her on the show. That's just a matter of wonderful things. All right, well, let me take care of some business first. As always, welcome to Talk on Tuesdays. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're here. We're available on our YouTube, Facebook, and then also under Pure Lighthouse Media on LinkedIn. We are streaming every Tuesday. And if you would like to become a sponsor on our platform, book time with us, do that at link tr.ee/pure light media. Mr. Springer will put it in the chat. And we are celebrating 100 episodes. Oh my gosh.
Keep
That's
it 100.
amazing.
That's what the kids used to say, right? Keep it 100. That's what
I
we've been
know.
doing. We've been keeping it 100.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. So all the gang is back. I believe Coach Tony will be on a little bit later, but Mr. Wamble, what did you do? It's been about 2 weeks. We weren't here at the very beginning of July. It was July 4th weekend around that time. What have you been up to these last couple of weeks?
It's been good. It's been a good couple weeks. I've spent some of the time with family visiting. So we went around the greater Chicagoland area, which, if you've spent summer in Chicago, you know that also includes Wisconsin and Indiana
Ooh.
and other places, the playground for the city. So did some of that, did some other free, wonderful free. Did I mention they were free? Some
Of
free
course.
events. And that was great. And got to meet up with you, Val, during this time, as we've been off, but we've been kind of surveying the city, looking for things, making some.
We got a chance to go ahead and check out the Taste of Chicago. And Mr. Wamble, I can't hear you anymore. I don't know what happened. But yeah, so we got a chance to check out the Taste of Chicago a little bit, and we were just having a good old time. And oh yeah, let me. Wow, I forgot the name of the artist that was, but okay, Michael, can you hear me? I can't hear you. Uh-oh. We're experiencing tech difficulties. How exciting is this? Michael, uh-oh. I can't hear you at all. I don't know what happened. Okay. I can be heard. Can someone put in the chat if you can hear me? Because as of right now, I can't hear Michael. And then Michael left. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I see Sunny Grace is watching on Facebook. Hello, hello. I see Mark Lee is here. Hello and welcome. There is, yeah, we're having a little tech difficulties over here, but please stand by. And this is great. Thank you so much, Mr. Springer, for letting me know that you can hear me. That's wonderful. Hello, Mark. Good to see you. We are live on Roku. This is amazing. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen you, Suzanne, in a minute. Oh, you can't hear him. That's what I figured. Yeah, we do not hear Michael. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. And Sherrod, thank you. You are there. I appreciate you. I see there's a lot of folks watching us from LinkedIn. Thank you so very much. I'm going to bring Michael back and see if he can be heard. Michael?
Yes.
Oh, thank God.
Okay, great.
He's back. Now, what I was saying was we were enjoying a little bit of Taste of Chicago. What about you? What did you think about the taste? Hey, Sherrod.
Enjoyed it. Enjoyed it a lot. Especially loved. I don't know if you mentioned the tacos. Did you
Oh
mention the
my,
tacos? The
yes,
soul
yes.
tacos. Yes.
Oh my gosh, they were delicious. And Suzanne is telling us congratulations on 100 episodes. That is a major accomplishment, guys. I mean, I'm going to be talking about it till I'm blue in the face, Mister. Yes, that's right,
Ah, my voice. I
Mr.
know.
Springer.
Hey, it takes a lot to take away my voice, people. You know.
And we like this interaction with our chat. But as you were saying, Michael, you got a chance to get around the greater Chicagoland area, went to Wisconsin, and you did a lot of free stuff. Free stuff. This is
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah. I enjoy free things, and one of the benefits was Taste of Chicago. It had been a couple years since I'd been to Taste. I think it'd been a couple years since they actually had a Taste in the way that they did this past weekend. So I appreciated it. Being able to be out, having the vendors, having being kind of in was the backyard of Chicago, right there, Grant Park, right off of the lake. The weather was great throughout the entirety of the weekend. The
Mm-hmm.
people were there.
Yay.
It was really a great experience, and you and I we got to lounge. We got to
I
line. It was
I
nice.
know. I know. And I'll bring this back. And please place in the chat if you attended a show or a festival over the last 2 weekends, because we've been here before July 4th. We weren't here. And so I'm gonna bring this video back. I don't know this artist, but she did such a great job. She did a great job. And she was one of the artists that came on just before, I think she came on just before Nelly.
Y'all are too kind, thank you. Hey, if people be having you messed
Anyway, okay, I'm trying to skip ahead here. Here we go. What I what
We
I
gotta
what
find
I
out
am
who that is.
I gotta find out. I'm gonna find out who it is.
We gotta get them on the show. What you talking
We
about?
gotta get them. Definitely gotta get them on the show. I
Hey, Tracy.
Tracy, I believe her daughter sang at the WNBA
All
All
Star
Star
Weekend.
game,
Oh,
All Star
nice.
weekend. Tracy,
Okay.
put it in the chat if that's true, because I saw a picture on her page, and she was celebrating her daughter sang the national anthem for the
Oh, nice.
WNBA,
Hey,
Tracy,
that was
that is
big
a
time.
major accomplishment. Now, Mark said he did his usual 2-day festival at Eno River 4th of July, and he said it was amazing. That's great. I've never heard
You
of
know
that,
what? Can I
Michael.
mention something before I forget?
Yeah.
One
Mm-hmm.
of the things I especially liked about and enjoy, and I think that it's going to be something nationally that will be great over the coming years, is the addition to of Juneteenth as this kind of national kind of celebration. It really kind of takes the pressure off of the Fourth. Whether you
Mm-hmm.
know, no matter how you look at the Fourth, if you look at the Fourth like I'm an American and this is great, or if you look at the Fourth more like, you know, in the gaze, in the view of a Frederick Douglass, is like what is this? Um, it really kind of gives the summer this different feeling to it, because you have, you know, festivals for Juneteenth, and then there's a little bit of a gap, a break, and then you have, you know, this Fourth of July weekend, and I think that that's a great thing. You know, I've made fun of quite a like tease, you know, Juneteenth in the past, but I can tell like the it kind of changes the rhythm of the summer,
It
and I
does.
think for the better.
Yeah, I know. And I see Mark said that he emceed as usual, and he brought a friend to his Nappy Head Funk Army there and other grand banda. So I'm assuming that was a music festival.
Bands. I'm gonna assume that means
I'm
bands.
that's what he meant, great band.
Yeah,
But
we a little Spanglish there.
I was very sad to miss the Essence Music Festival. I'm just going to put that out there, but I found a workaround. It actually showed up on Hulu. And I was able to, because I am a subscriber to Hulu. They did not advertise this outside of Hulu, but I caught the last night. So that those were new edition. There was oh gosh, the young lady from the Breakfast Club, Angela Yee. She was the host, and she was
A lot
sitting
of hot
there.
pink, huh?
A lot of hot pink. So she was there
I didn't know hot
hosting.
pink was a thing. I'm looking at it, all that pink and green, and I know who was
I know
directing it. I know who
and
was in charge there.
that's Sherry
Mm-mm.
Shepherd, your
Good
girl,
weed,
and
huh?
I know, and the Isley brothers performed on the last night, so that's Ron Isley and his brother. I was just having a good old time checking out everything from my
La da
bedroom, but
da da da.
yeah, and
La da
yeah, and
da da da.
I really wanted to see that concert, but I didn't get a chance to see it, so I was all sad about it, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's gonna be fine." But thank you guys for letting us know what you did, and then of course over the weekend, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, is that the WNBA, the All Star game was at Wintrust Theater in Chicago, which was a big deal, and I think it was in Chicago because Chicago Sky won the WNBA championship. So that is amazing. So when we bring up Coach Tony and his special guests, we'll talk about women's basketball as well as that, as well as all of that. But that's what I
You
mainly
want to wait on talking about BG,
yeah, I
Brittany?
do. But unless you want to mention something right now, because I'm sitting up here,
A
I'm
little
trying to
bit.
search.
One thing I can
Yeah.
talk about, I want to mention, is that around this time, this is June, historic
Hmm.
legislation was signed back in 1972.
Hmm.
1972 has really changed everything, and that legislation it's called Title IX. And Title IX has been getting a little bit of love. It's been getting a little bit of attention. I know with
Hmm.
my class over the summer, we've been kind of looking at Title IX. I know some of the schools in our area have been talking about Title IX. And Title IX is known as like the 37 words. And those 37 words address gender discrimination. It was written in 72, passed by President Nixon. And what
Oh.
it said is that if you have men's sports at a college or university, you need to have some comparable female sports or opportunity for women to participate in sports, and that's how you get a WNBA. You don't get a WNBA without Title IX, and it was really
Mhm.
interesting because among the things that they kind of, you know, nodded to over this past weekend, other than the fact that, you know, a woman is being held captive in Russia, is that Title IX is celebrating its 50th year. And there's been some kind of pushback, positive and negative talk about Title IX, but overall, it really changed things. It changed things for the better. And it's something that if you don't know much about it, I can talk a little bit more about it tomorrow, Wednesday. Uh, but I just want to mention it because you might have, if you saw the game, you know that the players at one point had on shirts and they had a quote on the back of their shirts. And those are the 37 words that begin Title IX. So without Title IX, you don't get a WNBA. You don't get stars like a Brittany Griner or a Candace Parker. You don't get a U.S. Women's national soccer team that's been, at the forefront of that sport, far surpassing what the men have been able to accomplish. So it's a really thing, just something to mention. It's around this time of year when it was passed, so people are kind of looking at it. I know Sports Illustrated has its own issue on Title IX, and you're probably hearing about it on various cable channels and streaming services. So just be aware of what it is. And it
Yeah.
certainly was there a factor in the All-Star weekend.
Yeah, and I see something has frozen on my end right now.
Yeah, we're looking at a picture of Brittany's wife there, who
Right.
spoke at the All-Star game at Wintrust over the past weekend, and in the push to try to get Brittany Griner out of Russia, where the U.S. has designated that she is being held there illegally.
Right, exactly. And so the one thing that I will say is it is very disturbing that she is still not. Um, I think it's now going into 80 days that Brittany has been in Russia. And we will definitely go into detail about why. Number one, why was she over there? Well, she was playing for the Russian basketball team,
Mm-hmm.
and
And
uh,
why?
and that's kind of the main thing of it all. But I just, it's very disturbing, and I wanted to make sure that we had kind of touch base with that. For some reason I'm having some issue with what I was showing, but what I'm going to do is bring in early, because I want to talk about it, because I see folks are here already. Coach, are you ready? It's now time for Coach Tony.
Hey,
Woohoo!
hey, Mike, before I get started, I'm going to say two things. One, welcome back, my brother. You
All
know,
right, thank you. Hey, good to see you too.
glad that God allowed you to go have a vacation safe. And two, you're going to love what I got on tonight. Look at this shirt, Mike. Look
I
at that.
see house music all night long.
House music all night long. Finish up that session. Man, I'm telling you, man. House
Yeah,
music
yep. They yep
making a
they
big
did have
comeback.
among the free events. They had the house the annual chosen few. They had the picnic. They had the house music going in the city on the out in Washington. I think it was Washington Park out Hyde Park area. So
Yep.
that's a big attraction, man.
They said to drop
Definitely.
that vinyl hat on too. Let them new schools know I still spin that vinyl, man.
Vinyl. What's vinyl?
What
All
is
right.
vinyl? We don't know what
Hey,
that is.
hey, that's like the kids asking, "What's a CD or iPod?" Hey, man, I'm glad that you and Val touched on a few things before we bring our guests. I'm so glad because you threw things in my arena. 20 years on the sideline, and this is entering my 10th year, actually my 13th year as a women's basketball coach. So Title IX, without the Title IX situation, man, me as a minority male in that arena, I wouldn't be able to coach and do the things that I'm able to do. More importantly, you want to go back to who I think the superstar Nancy Lieberman, right, who took all the
Yo,
bumps and
God,
Mhm.
yes,
bruises.
yes,
A lot of
right.
people don't realize made that first NBA contract, and the men didn't want her up there, so they purposely throwing elbows, pushing her around. But she broke ground. It's kind of like the same thing that happened when they said, "Oh, Serena should play Pete Sampras." Come on, really?
Yeah, really,
Really?
really, she could. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
but
she
she
could.
could. And that's the thing about it. She ain't backing down doing anything. So when I see those shirts that the WNBA girls were wearing, and uh, much props to my girl Brittany Griner for just holding on, hanging in there. Her wife,
Mhm.
I think it's an ignorant trade that Russia's asking to release a prisoner of war that's tried to bomb the United States for a basketball player. That's not even the equivalence of what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard you guys mention a moment ago. So let's put some facts on this stuff. So the
You go.
average ball player, and I'll go back for a perfect example.
Okay.
Last week, Val and I had a great show talking about the kids and this and that. And, we go back to our guest star, Mr. Noah Williams, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Noah has a great year coming up in 23, and he graduates. He's, first round projected, even mid to late. He's looking at a minimum 3.5, 4 mil a year. So he's looking at a minimum about 15 to 20. And then we're not even talking about endorsements, right? So let's just round it to a cool 20 mil, right? Who gets a cool 20 mil? But these young
Mm-hmm.
ladies are coming out. Dawn Staley is producing product after product after product. She's doing the best. She's really changed the entire landscape of women's basketball from what we've known as to Gene Ariamo and UConn, right? And the Pat Summits of the world. Unfortunately, Pat's no longer with us. But now Dawn's the new go-to powerhouse player in women's basketball, and she's turning out year after year, talent after talent. She becomes
Yeah.
the first coach, obviously as a minority, to sign a multi-million-dollar deal as a coach for $2 million, which is only like 500 some odd $1,000 a year for 5, right?
Wow.
Gino and Coach K and Coach K and Coach Cal on the men's side of the house signed a $20 million contract. And so when you look at these women that I coach, when they come out, if they don't go to the WNBA, and you're talking about the maximum salary for a person like none other than our beloved Candace Parker, Chicago, signed a $2 million 5-year deal, something in that ballpark. We're only talking about, $450,000 to $500,000 a year,
Yeah.
right? So we're
Yeah.
talking about what the men make, though that's taxes. So the women make the men's taxes. Let's just keep it
Wow.
100. So the
Wow.
reason why they got to go over the pond is because the WNBA don't pay them enough money on salary. So these
Mm.
girls go overseas so that the next 6 months of their lives or 4 months of their lives, they're making $1 to $2 million legitimately playing Euro ball in FIBA. And that's where the money's at.
Yeah.
Coach. One of the things I love how you broke that down. That the
Yeah.
women are making
Mm-hmm.
the men's taxes. That
That's
that's a great way to kind of
wow.
crystallize the information. I was working with some students and we were looking at Title IX, and I had them write about Title IX. So we were doing the research, and one of
Mhm.
the things that we came across, which was insane. So this goes back to 1969. In 1969, we found when we were doing this, looking at Sports Illustrated and some other sources. Uh, in 1969, Syracuse University, which was thought to be kind of a progressive school in this area, they had a men's program sports and a women's program sports. In 1969, they budgeted $90,000 for their men's sports programming. Do you know how much they budgeted for their women's sports programming for
I'm
that
gonna
same
say
year?
I'm gonna take a guess, and I'm gonna say 90,000 at that time is roughly probably about 200 million today. So I'm gonna say they probably budgeted around 10 grand for the women at that time.
Probably
Ooh,
lower.
they would have been really lucky.
That would have been. I'm thinking it was lower, Michael.
Yeah, lower,
Lower.
go lower, lower.
Oh, let's try 5 stats.
What's that?
5,000. Oh my goodness. Oh, try 1,500. $2,000. Oh, oh, oh. A bag of groceries.
Oh my gosh.
Two
That's
hundred
not true.
dollars.
Get out of here.
So in 1969, Syracuse budgeted $90,000 for all of their men's sports programs, and then $200 for women's programs.
Wow.
Now, Coach, can you see the need for a Title IX?
Oh yeah, big time. And the funny part about it is they had to kick the door in, Mike, and they still being discussed. Right? What's that? 69. So we're talking about roughly 50 years later.
Yes, right. Title IX passed under President Richard M. Nixon. So y'all can say he did
Nixon, yeah.
something.
So
He
he
did
was
do
he
something.
definitely wasn't supporting us. I know that for a fact.
Right. So that came across. You got to give him credit for that. He did sign that. But Coach, you also remember that I think it was just 2 years ago during the pandemic when the men's and women's were in the same hotel facility when that video went viral from the Oregon Ducks player, where she
Yeah,
showed the area in which they had for the men to train into the weight room, and it was a whole ballroom in
actually,
a
actually, Mike,
place. And
Mike, it wasn't that. It was the Final Four, and the
oh,
men. That's even worse. The men in the Final Four where they played. I think at that year, I forgot where the men played the Final Four that year. I want to say Indianapolis. They showed where they had buffet lunch. They had a whole gymnasium. They had workout, and then they went to San Antonio. I remember that the women were in San Antonio that year, and they had literally closed off. One of those banquet halls at a hotel, and they
yes.
brought a makeshift weight room in and just dumped the weights on the floor. So the
Yeah, it looked
girls
like
had
somebody ran by Dick's Sporting Goods and just threw some stuff, like free
Wait a
weights,
exactly.
minute.
5 and
I
10
don't
pound
know about
weights.
all that.
Yeah. Nothing clean. And hey, put your own weights on the rack.
Yes.
So what I'm going to do at this time, Coach, we have a special guest in the building, someone that is a founder and CEO of Elite Talent Pros. Tell us about our guest.
Man, first of all, besides getting Mr. Wamble back in town, we're gonna get a double. We like double stuff tonight, like Oreo cookies, And I'm bringing my main man with me, Mr. Mike Martin. And a little background: me and Mike connected a few years ago, kept in touch with one another. And Mike knew I was heavy on the basketball side of the house. He moved to Miami, Florida, so I can't wait to get down there and hang out with him on South Beach. And we got to talking. Mike's has a soccer background, heavily professional. So, Mike, you're gonna love the questions talking to him and his knowledge about, as a professional player and why he decided to open up the recruiting side. So when he and I connected with one another, Val, we talked about what can we do to help the kids across America in the mainstream of recruiting, right? Because a lot of these recruiting agencies asking someone in the ballpark of $2, $3, $4, $5, $6,000 at some point, and you got single mothers who can't even pay an $800 rent. Right? Let's be real about it.
Right.
So
Exactly.
when Mike and I got together, he said, Tony, I'm heavy on soccer. We're doing some golf, tennis, and this and that, but I need someone to help me get the basketball together. So he brought me on board as a national recruiting director with these guys, working with Mike every day and coming in here, talking to these kids every day about the recruiting process, as of which, obviously you and Val got an opportunity to see the professional side with Sam Cipriano, right? And the high level of what he looks at. And now tonight, we're going to introduce Mr. Mike Moore. We're going to talk about where it starts at from the high school level and get into that. So none other than just give my man here and give him a big applause.
Woo! Welcome, Michael Martin, the CEO of Elite Talent Pros. How are you? Oh, you're muted. Let's unmute you.
I think I'm mute. I apologize. Oh, no, but I appreciate number one for having me on tonight. It's a great pleasure to always be around people that are focused on the development side. Um, the players, they work so hard. Families, sacrifices, everything that goes on to put out these amazing events, right? I mean, these athletes give it all. I've been listening in the background, and it's important, right? It's important to them. It is the way that they make a living, but more importantly, it's a devotion to their skill set. I think it's very that we kind of take for granted, right? This is a profession. Sports is a profession to some, But more importantly, the development side is critical, right? Because once a career is gone, what are they going to do, right? They're going to take those experiences that they are getting right now, and they're going to bring it back to the youth, right? They're going to bring it back to the ground up. So as we're laying these foundations, and we're talking about, just equality, and we're talking about just opportunities, we want to just leave it better than it was from when we were challenged, right? So, on the women's side, definitely a lot of progression needs to be made. I've been hearing all that, and I agree with you 100%. I think they need to start reevaluating the way that they do marketing strategies and appropriations of funds, so that way they can equally give the deserving development attributes that they get on the men's side, right? I think that's really
Mhm.
critical. So, and on the sports side, it's up and coming. On the college side, there's more women staying in the game than men. There's more women staying in the game than men, and that gives you a really good indication that quality of coaching is there, right? The quality of opportunities are there. Now we just need to get it over the line, and how can we do that in a professional platform, right? So that's very, very critical. But like I said, I'm here to talk about the college aspect, the opportunities that are being provided for our athletes, and like Tony said, I've always been heavily on the soccer side. I've been a professional athlete. I've seen it. It's never pretty. I've seen what you guys are going through, right? And it's equally, challenging here coming from the US aspect, going to overseas, going to other countries where the pay is better, right? Where the opportunities
Mhm.
are better on the financial side, and you're having to make your sacrifices. I have my own family. I understand. I have kids. Same thing. You're having to put them through all these things. So it's important for us to understand that even though we are a marketable individual, we need to also look at the whole picture, right? As a whole, we are human, so we have all those mental aspects that we need to focus on, and so it really brings back down to the youth. Can we create that environment where we have good mentors, good coaches, good platform, good opportunities for everyone to be successful, right? And I mean everybody. I mean anyone that can put on a pair of shoes and puts in the work on a court, they have an opportunity to play, right? And we have to I look at it differently than maybe others do. And I take this because again, I've been at the highest level. I work with high level, coaches at the highest level. And I mean, professional, the highest paying gigs that there are in the business on all spat. I deal with Olympians. I deal with those on a daily basis. And I can tell you the development is so important. And so someone at the lower level believing in them, cherishing their skill set and understanding where they're coming from. And I truly mean on a granular level where they're coming from, right? The individual. So if it's Val, it is Val's goals, it is Val's ambitions, it is Val's reality, right? I am, as a coach, as a mentor, as someone's there to support them, I'm not going to get in their way. I'm just going to give them all the tools that I can for them to be as successful as they can be. And if they can break that barrier, then you know what? They're going to go through their own fruition of that. They're going to be able to aspire what they're going to be. But it's not going to be me as a bumper, right? It's not going to be coaches as a bumper. And that's what makes true athletes, right? That's what we're taught to become, right? Pillars of our own education. So if we can empower all our athletes, can we continue to do that? They're going to be a lot more successful, and there's going to be a lot more opportunities for them. And that's where I started, and the reason I came back into the recruitment aspect is because I didn't see that, right? I see all these major entities and companies and exploiting these athletes because they have a dream, right? They have an opportunity, they have the skill sets, but they don't know how to articulate or utilize their resources around them, right? So that was my goal as a company, right? Our goal was to, hey, why can't we all work together and get them all the things that they need at a much more manageable rate, because they're already investing in their talents, not just, you know, the AU tournaments, the soccer across the country, the baseball, playing 3 different teams, 7 different states. Very, very important to us. All that it's going somewhere, but it's not going to where it really matters, right? I mean, you can look at the figures. I mean, for most of them, it's a whole college education, right? That they're banking on.
Right.
But main society is teaching them is like, do this, do this, do this, do this, and you get a chance, right? And I'm trying to break that mold. We're trying to not reinvent the wheel, but try to manage their expectations and give an opportunity where what can you do to grow? Can you fit? And can you go can you go on that aspect?
Oh yeah, hey
Okay,
Mike.
Michael, I'm sorry, Michael, let me jump in here really quick. Now, let me put this up here.
Yes.
We got Brittany Grinder. I actually would love your opinion
Sure.
on her situation
Yes.
and what she's going through right now. I had an earlier shot of her when she was a rookie. And then
Yes.
we also have a question in the chat for you, but just
Yes.
speak on Brittany and what do you think should be happening with her situation right now?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, from the get-go, I mean, it's all kind of just disparity. It's just wrong, right? It's just the balance of powers. It's just if this was any other athlete, right? You know, any male figure specifically, they'd already be home. Let's be real with that. You know, unfortunate. You know the circumstances are what they are, and unfortunately, us we can't control them. But you know, let's call a spade a spade. You know, she should be home. She should be with her loving family and she should be, you know, she was there doing what she loves. I'm sure she was, you know, everything in her power. I mean, this was a day-to-day thing. This is just a fallacy of, you know, a little bit of politics and a little bit of what's going on, and it's playing a card game, which unfortunately is with her life, and that's it's detrimental to her well-being, her family, you know, just the way that now even maybe professionally the league, right, way they look at these players, you know, this could be detrimental for many years to come, right? Not just in that country, but just overseas in general. Yeah, that's what I say.
Michael?
Yeah, so we're talking to Michael Martin of Elite Talent Pros, and you mentioned that your sport was soccer.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? What position did you play? Where did you
Right.
play? And you
Yeah.
were mentioning kind of traveling from the U.S. overseas. What was that experience like for you?
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, you know, obviously soccer is very big overseas, South
Yeah.
America. You know, so I played in South America for a couple of years, about 4 years. Played in Europe for 2 years. You know, and unfortunately, a lot of injuries. So it was it was what it was. You know, it was short but good for my time in the 90s. It was a good amount of time, right? Nothing what they have nowadays with the technology, the recovery, everything that goes around that. But I had great opportunities, and going overseas is different, right? It's different. You're alone,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
You don't have the support that now is involved, right? With the social media and the online, you know, that we're getting to do. The beauty about this, right? Being able to connect with
Mhm.
people. I mean, we had a hard line, right? We had a hard line and like you know, and you'd be lucky if you
Yeah,
got it.
this is a party line. Like Mike called me, I call Valarie, he call you.
Exactly. And then it'd be like, is it, you know, how much is this going to be? Is it 19.99 a minute? You know, for
Right.
like, it was crazy.
Well, I was in Chicago, so I may be on the corner with them quarters, man.
Exactly. No,
Yeah,
I agree. And to be honest, like I know in Europe, so there was only four major centers in Europe. You know, I was in Portugal for a little bit, and then in Poland.
Oh.
You know, in the second division, and they were there was less like two or three locations that you could utilize, you know, service to the US. So being able to connect with your family, it was tough. But more importantly, just the being away from your support, your pillars, right? The ones
Mhm.
that have always built you up. That's probably, I think, the biggest challenge as a professional, right? Nowadays, again, you know, there's much more money involved. So, I mean, we're talking about, I mean, dollars and cents. You know, like nowadays, I look at it. You know, what was offered to us as a salary, I mean, is no longer, you know, this lucrative deals are just phenomenal for athletes, right? They can take care of their families for a lifelong, you know, for the lifelong if they're financially literate, right? If they take care, if they start to trust the right people. But the passion of playing professional sports, I mean, there's nothing out there that I could say that even can replicate here in the US besides basketball. I mean, basketball for the men's side, at least I know, and for football, I mean, you know, state of the art facilities. This is what you see over there in soccer. Same thing in South America, state of the art facilities. I mean, the government is behind a lot of the facilities, you know, especially like where I played in Chile. Same thing, the government's behind, you know, it's behind the facilities. So you get a grade, and then you know you step out 5 blocks out the way, and is no good. It's not a good thing. But it's a luxury, and I was blessed. I had to work hard for it, and I think a lot of the kids don't realize, even having my own kids, I tell all the people that I run into, even family members, I was like, they don't know how good it is that they have it. Cause I mean, I didn't know where growing up, 4 sisters, single mom, I didn't know where my next hot meal was going to come from. I didn't know where, my mom got to work 2 jobs to, just put a roof over our heads. So I worked very hard to get to where I was, and I think a lot of athletes need to realize that, like, it's work, you're passionate about it, but it's work. So we really need to kind of look at it on the 2 scopes. It's like, what are you willing to give? What are you willing to sacrifice? And if you do, the results will come, right? No one's going to stand in your way. No one's going to tell you what to do. Take no for the no is always not right now. That's what I can tell everyone. If you're looking at the professional route, if you have the skill sets to do so, never take no for an answer. Never quit. Always challenge yourself. Always make mistakes. Mistakes are the key to growth.
Right.
That's very important. And I think on the development side, we lose a lot of that because of that enamor of professional sports, right? But when it comes right down to it, professional athletes are just ones that make the least amount of mistakes. They still make mistakes. And you know what happens when they make mistakes, right? They're on the news, what?
Wow. Social media,
Yeah,
Twitter today. Wow.
like your boy Miles Bridges on accident, right? That's the situation. And the funny part about that, Mike, you mentioned soccer and how basketball, and Mike, Wamble, I don't know if you know these numbers, but the last decade, obviously in the United States, you really play high school football, right? College football, then professional. Once you finish professional football in the NFL, or even college for that matter, you really only got 2 leagues. That's the NFL and the USFL. Now, if you go to Europe, they call that rugby. And we don't have a lot of football players doing it. There's a few that maybe can mix in between.
Yes.
But,
yeah. 49ers has some players. Yep.
Exactly. Now, Mike, the question I was going to ask you, I was listening to the news the other day in your arena. Basketball is quickly gaining on everyone. We're surpassed football worldwide, but quickly gaining on soccer. Yep. But the other day on the world news, they were talking about a few athletes, and this main soccer athlete came over from Portugal and played in the United States for the Dallas soccer team and took his own life. And it was because of PTSD, and they didn't know, because obviously with PTSD, you can't do anything until after death, and then they examine the brain. And they were talking about this was from years of soccer, from middle school, high school, of these kids running and jumping and hitting the ball or hitting each other in the head. Can you speak on the injury side of the house and just the traumatic side of the house, looking at these athletes having to condition themselves ready for that type of environment?
Yeah, let me jump in right before you answer that. And again, we're speaking to Michael Martin, president of Elite Talent Pros, and Coach Tony's kind of asked about concussions, about the aftermath and the consequence of concussions. And I know on the American side, we had a U.S. Football player, Demaryius Thomas, whose brain was just checked. He had died a couple years ago and donated his brain to be checked, and they found out that he did have, I believe he did have the aftermath of concussions, of consecutive concussions, and it wears, it tears. So a couple things I want to kind of reframe Coach Tony's question for you. Again, we're talking to Michael Martin of Elite Talent Pros. Early on, there used to be advice, and I know because my son played soccer early on, and they became this idea of headers are great. Use headers to score, for young kids, toddlers, teens. And then they kind of got revised that, like, if you don't have to use the header, maybe maybe use that a little bit later on, high school, college, that you could avoid using your head in that way. And I think that is now the prevailing wisdom in soccer among youth. Is that correct?
Yes, until 12 years old. That's correct. Yes.
Okay, so until 12 in most places. Now, in terms of what we're seeing for soccer players, this is soccer, football. Everywhere else outside of America is football.
Correct.
Football is the biggest sport in the world, followed closely by basketball.
That is correct.
Are we seeing that? Are we seeing the effects of that globally? Are we going into looking at families? Are they thinking about this in terms of how they introduce their young people to the sport?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, like every other sport, it's evolving, right? It's as we get data. I mean, I look at it like I said. This is just one of the companies that we own. We have a development company for soccer, and we look at the science behind everything. I mean, we partnered with UCLA. We spent over $3.5 million in education we have an application on literature of how to tendencies and how to cope with different body mechanics other than your head. So I think it's important that the kids understand when they do get to that stage, how to utilize it effectively and when to use and recognize when it's a good time and when it's not. Now, obviously, if you look at the professional side, it's a little bit more competitive. So you kind of get enamored by it, right? So kids want to replicate it. They want to replicate it, right?
Right.
A young man snapping his head back and just kind of whisking it when it's near the temple, right? So you have near the temple, and is it ideal? Absolutely not. Is it phenomenal if it's a magical winning goal, in a low scoring game? Absolutely. So every kid next day, right, is trying it out on their own, right? I remember when I was a little kid, I mean, I saw Romario do a bicycle kick. I mean, I do a bicycle kick the next day, right? I got the mat out. I threw my bed on the floor, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna learn how to do a bicycle kick, right? I was 8 years old, and but going back to the
but they don't let that mat. They don't let you bring out that mat in the game,
right? You better hit that grass. Get out, hey Mike, you better get out the backyard. Right,
that's your back on the ground.
Right, get out. Exactly. Get out that backyard. Hope you ain't cut the grass last week.
Exactly. I mean, in the grass, I would do it in the grass too. But you're indoors, right? So because this was obviously European time, so it's middle of the night for us. It's early for them, and I was just like I said, going back to the concussions. I mean, I've had my fair shares in college, Division I. I got knocked out for 4 minutes. 4 minutes. I ended up in Detroit Hospital. We were playing Ohio State in a national regional qualifier for
wow.
So it can happen, right? So
right.
It was me attacking the ball, being more aggressive, and someone coming from the side, just bad omen.
Right.
What I can say about it, they are doing more now in the professional game to identify these. I know the MLS here in the U.S. is doing a lot more as well. They're actually trying to also prevent more injuries by now having a set time limit for the players to being out so they can be properly checked, right? Because, after 2 or 3 concussions, I mean, your player, you're pretty much, they say it's like a scrambled little, scramble for 1 or 2 years in the back of the mind. So, I mean,
sure. No. As Chicagoans, Bear fans, we know Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
I mean, we can remember a game in which Jay Cutler got hit so hard he went to the wrong sideline.
Yeah.
Right.
And they had to send him back over.
Yeah.
What you saying, Val?
Yeah. So we have 3 questions from Mark, but I'm actually going to give this one that Mark asked. Are athletes
That's my guy, Mark. What's up, Mark?
Yeah, are athletes being taught enough about financial literacy?
Absolutely not.
Wow. Okay.
Absolutely not. I think that is not even close to the educational system. Doesn't even touch it.
And you know why? Most of it is on that, Val. And I'm gonna add to what Mike was talking about. And Mark, that's good. That kind of goes back to the question Mark was asking me a week ago. And the reason why a lot of that is not being done, Val, you got to go back and think about the kid who's coming up, kind of like Mike said, like myself, single parent. You're not being taught those financial things in that type of household because mom's working, trying to do her best to keep food on the table. Now you go to this era, and we got the era because the NCAA was put on its back a few years ago. Now here comes NIL deals. So the NIL deal changed a whole lay of land. Back when we were playing, Mike and myself, and coming through the late 80s, early 90s, the guys that was giving us money, whether it was under the table in our hand, was a big booster for you winning games. Now, I didn't just say that for promotional purposes only, but now you're looking at NIL deals that I physically now got a contract and paper that I show up and I do a show for Interludes and they pay me $2,000. Or I go down to the local Mercedes-Benz and spend 6 hours in a Mercedes-Benz, sign a few autographs, kiss a few babies, shake a few hands, and I come out with about $15,000. Great way for the weekend. And these kids are not recognizing that it's basically a part-time job, and they're supposed to be a student athlete. But the money is so good, the student part has been dropped off because, like Mike said, most of these kids know they're going to be a professional, so they forget about school. It's about how much can I make money right now in these next 12 months because I'm about to go to the NBA anyway. And the only sport we really got, think about basketball, soccer, baseball, and hockey can get a kid now out of high school. The only sport that still make you stay is college football. You can't leave till you're a junior. So that's a whole different lay of the land.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, he's got it absolutely right. And like the financial literacy, like I know that Mark was talking about, we don't do enough. I was in they always say, like, if you're going to be successful, try to be before your 40s, right? So I was 37 when I finally figured it out, and when I mean finally figure it out, which is, blowing lots and lots and lots of ideas, because no one gave you the support of financial literacy. No one taught you how to prepare for the future. Like, me and Tony talk all the time, and I was like, my son will never have to worry a day in his life, about where he's going to, have a house, home, sit, he's got, because I learned, I taught, I had to push myself through that. I made a lot of sacrifices knowing those things. So could I have done it earlier? Absolutely. Could we have done it in a different way? Absolutely. But unfortunately, the tools weren't available to us, right? And with technology now, the tools are available to us, right? So why aren't we talking too much about it? I think the reality, to answer Mark's question, is that it's our own, I guess, our own educational backgrounds that don't allow us to seek those things, right? It doesn't allow us, and we don't have enough good people to want to invest time into the youth, into what they could do to be better, right? And I say that because I feel like I'm in a room full of people that want better for the youth, right? People that want better for the future, right? They want to leave it in a better place, right? I know Tony and I talk about it for his son all the time, and I know I talk about it with all my families. It's like, what can we do differently that they? And it's not the Mercedes, it's not the houses, it's not the trips. Me and Tony, if you ask Tony, I never talk about those things, right? Do we have them? Absolutely. Do we need them? No, right? We want what we want, but they don't know, my son, and they will never know how much. Like I always tell them, if they ask me how much was that, all right, you give me 120 hours, and then you times that, then you can afford it. That's how I teach them, right? You want this? Wow. This is 3 hours you got to put in. Is it still worth it to you? That's you teaching. So that's the value that I'm blessed to be able to teach my son and be able to pass on to people that I impact. Because, like Tony said, single mom, 5 kids. She never had the time. Never had the time. I mean, she was just worried about one thing: can I keep them alive? Can I put food in their mouth? Can they get an education? Can I get them? That's it. That's it. And then, can they stay out of trouble?
Michael,
that's always a big thing.
Michael, if more people wanted to know more about what you do in the recruiting space, where would they go?
Yeah, I mean, we have our website. It's elitetalentpros.org. And, what we're about, like, Tony said, we're about mentoring and helping student athletes. We really want to challenge them to be self-advocates of their continuing development. That's our goal, right? So we can go ahead and do that. I want them to really implore them. We want to push them. Tony, I'm sure you guys know Tony. I mean, we don't want to give them the answers. We want to give them the opportunities to be successful.
Val, we're going to another thing. I'll get to Mike probably. To Kevin next week, just to show you, Val and Mike, what we're doing We want to make sure these guys, they want to sign up.
Yep.
We're actually going to be doing our first annual what we call the Best in Class Showcase right here in Nashville, Tennessee, August 12th and 13th, where we're going to be showcasing 8th graders all the way to seniors. We're only going to take 60 kids per class on that. So I'll get that information to you. And Mike, man, it's great, man. I'm glad you can come. Glad you can show up tonight and really educate everybody. Appreciate the time, man. And we got to get you back on there, man. We blow this thing up, man.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And we're always here. Like, for me, it's always a pleasure. And I appreciate you guys' time. And again, this is what it's all about for everything. Just the more knowledge we can give out to the community, the better.
Michael Martin, thank you so much for joining us on our Talk on Tuesday. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you so much. Come on back when you have more time.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm so sorry. And Coach, I guess
talk to my Val.
You lost schedule, buddy.
You next. Hey,
that was a little too quick. I'm so sorry. Michael, I'm so sorry. That was really too quick.
It's okay.
Hey, that's how they do me, Mike. Hey, let's go, wrap it up.
He next.
That's all right. I got kids to attend to. I just got out, so we're good. So
all right. Thanks a lot, Michael. And Coach, we'll see you next week.
Hey, I'm always good. And by the way, Mike, get these White Sox playing better than they playing, man.
Right. He keeps shaking his head. All right,
Val,
next week.
Hey, Val, I ain't never seen the speeches like that, but I'm gonna tell you. And you know my words, and I'm out.
Oh boy. A little too quick on the clicker, I said. That's right. But you know what? Tomorrow, what will you be talking about?
Well, we mentioned a little bit, so I'll mention. We'll talk a little bit more about kind of Title IX in the sport. So we got into the Brittany Griner situation just a little bit, but I am getting increasingly frustrated by old Black people talking about Brittany Griner. So I want to break some of that down. I don't get it. It seems like a really clear black and white case to me, but for some people they see shades of gray in it. So that's what I'm gonna get into tomorrow.
So we have him at a brand new time tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central and 8 p.m. Eastern, and you'll be able to see him if you're a member of the Interludes Facebook group. You'll see him there. Never miss an episode with Interludes and Interludes Extra. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please like and follow.
We got something dropping tomorrow too.
We have something dropping tomorrow. That is very true. I have no idea what is happening. We are celebrating our 100th episode. Yes. We're still celebrating that. Okay, let me go ahead and do this. Interludes is streaming. If you'd like to become a sponsor on our platform, book time with us at linktr.ee/pure like media. Become a future sponsor of Interludes. We have another. Oh my gosh. How did I forget this?
I don't know.
Myself and Michael are going to be in a live comedy show this coming Sunday at Riddle's Comedy Club in Alsip. For more details about that,
more details, contact Val. Val's got all the information.
I have all the information.
And if you guys want to see if I have like a lower body, like legs and feet, you can come out. We'll be there at Riddle's. It's just I'm not just a talking head, a torso. I'm a human being that needs love.
It's Sunday night.
It's
Sunday night. It's Sunday night from 6 to 8 p.m. And Jury O'Neill is hosting us, and myself, Jury, and Michael. That is our podcast for tomorrow. We be doing comedy. That's the title of our podcast. We be doing comedy in person. But I might be changing that title just based on the reaction I just got from Mr. Wamble. Mr. Wamble, what's your name?
My name is not Val the Voice Johnson, but yours is, and this has been Interludes Extra Talk on Tuesday with Val the Voice Johnson.
And we're out. Peace.